The One Academy is the heart of our company. Cryptocurrency is not an easy product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the One Academy. The One Academy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. One Academy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.
Blessed good morning and good day to everyone from the Caribbean and those of you from around the rest of the world. Thank you for being on the call. My name is Maureen Brown and I'm from Barbados. I'm your host today. As our founder just said, we are learning today so we can lead tomorrow. That is why we are on this call. What is One Academy? One Academy is an innovative e-learning platform covering a broad range of financial topics, including trading, the stock exchange, cryptocurrency, financial analysis, asset management, and more. Our mission is to provide our students with the guidance and educational materials they need to achieve financial literacy. One Academy was developed by finance experts and academics. It's highly structured and easy to understand. You learn at your own pace and can be part of the future of global finance. Well, we are at the end of level 1 and we will be finishing today. Our intention is to give you a unique sense of understanding of straightforward facts that you can use immediately to enhance your daily lives as well as promote our core product, One Academy. Remember, it's an interactive session, so please put your questions and comments in the chat box. Also, we will allow 1 or 2 contributions at the end of the discussion, unless otherwise stated. I encourage you to take copious notes to assist you in your quest to become certified, knowledgeable, and wise investors. I would want to say good morning to Patrice James, must acknowledge you, and also to the newcomers on the call. I think I'm seeing some new people. And without any further ado, I am ready to hand over to Mr. Pereira. Mr. Pereira, are you ready for us? Because we are ready for you. How are you?
I am great. Good morning to you, Maureen. I trust you're having a super fabulous morning.
Oh, yes, I am.
All right, great. From the sound of that voice, absolutely. If I was sleeping, I definitely would be up by now. It's actually it's a public holiday again in Trinidad. It's actually the celebration of Indian Arrival Day. So they say it's so nice you do it twice, right? So we have back-to-back holidays, you know.
You Trinis, you just like the, anyway.
What can I say? What what can I say? Absolutely. So it's a exciting morning, One Academites. Good morning to everyone. It's the last day of May. Would you believe that? The last day of May has already come and we're looking forward to June, right? So we're ending off today officially with the level 1. It's been an exciting journey for the last, I would say, 2.5 weeks when we first started this new format. And I think it has really been really exciting. I have enjoyed it tremendously with many of my counterparts, Mr. Cadies, Mr. Alvin Morton, Kesby, many of them who have actually made tremendous contributions. Of course, Diamond, Patrice, and so much more. And tomorrow we're going to have open house day, as I like to have it on Friday, where you make a valid contribution as it relates to what you have actually found the One Academy and what it has done for you specifically. So we're just going to do just a quick wrap up this morning, just to kind of, jog your memory as it were, in terms of what we would have covered. So if you look back at your manual, the manual at this point in time, you would see that we would have done a lot from the first page. We definitely covered the role of investing in the post-crisis economy. We talked a little bit about you, the individual investor, and the purpose and the psyche of the individual investor. What are some of the traits an investor has to have? And I'll tell you why it's important. Having the right knowledge is important, but what we encourage at One Academy is for you, One Academites, to be able to take information, not just face value, not even if it's said in One Academy, but for you to take this information and to investigate this information. That is really the habit you want to have. Do not believe everything you hear, but evaluate the information. So if we give you the foundation, once you've built this foundation, you know specifically, okay, if I hear something on the media, which generally most people, when they hear things via the media, they tend to just believe it right away. And that's the mistake we all make sometimes. So we need to be very careful. We need to qualify the information that we hear. All right, because not all truth is the truth. I have to put it that way, because everybody believes in terms of what they're saying, but at the end of the day, you have to articulate this information and strip it down and see, well, okay, is this really making sense? Or based on what you know, whatever is your foundation, as an author once said, once you understand the basic fundamentals of some of the things you need to know, your true north will automatically point you in the right direction. And that's really what One Academy is about. We talked a little bit about planning your finances in terms of how you can actually cut down on your initial expenditure. Many people actually spend a lot of money unnecessarily, and we sometimes don't realize that we're actually doing that. So we talked a little bit about how you can actually do this. I did have a slide that I actually had presented just a few weeks ago, and we talked about cooking your own food. Remember, we did that in terms of cutting down on the amount of times that you would buy out. Susie Osmond, one of the top experts in the field of managing money and stuff, many of you may have heard about Susie Osmond. She talked about, really and truly, a budget doesn't really work. If you create a budget, let's be real, you're not going to stick to the budget. You're going to start and then eventually it's difficult. What you really want to do is to create now a habit in terms of having more control over your money, rather than you just buying things because you feel hopelessly lost. Oh, well, I have to buy lunch because I'm getting up 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't have the time, and all of these different things that we work out in our minds. So if you're buying lunch 5 times for the week or 4 times, why not cut down on maybe 1 or 2 times that you don't buy and you cook food for yourself? It requires some discipline, but if you get in the habit of doing that, you'd find yourself in a stronger position. Because growing your food as well is also very important. You can actually save lots of money in terms of that. So if you cut down on some of your expenses, and it's really good to even start planting your own food, because some of the benefits of planting your food cannot be overstated here in this call this morning. It's good to know that you can actually have things in your backyard, and every single one of you who are on this call have no excuse. You can actually plant your own food. Actually, to prove a point to my children, what I basically did is that we got some plastic containers, and because they had to actually start planting a few things in school. So I went ahead and I got some tomatoes and chive and celery and hot peppers and all of that. And we got some soil and I got some compost. I had that lying around the place. And we put that together in our plastic containers. And in fact, I should have taken a photo. I'll probably share that with you soon. In terms of, so we planted this and so we water it every morning. In fact, after I finish this call, I'm going to go water them. Right? So we need to start doing that, because it's not only because you should be doing it, but it's a healthy practice. Why not do it? You know, to be associated with green things. There's something about that with nature and stuff. We're just too much cooped up in the house sometimes. We need to just go out there and just interface with nature. And that's some of the things that we spoke about. You know, you could use a 2-liter bottle or a can, right? And you could just plant things. We talked about a simple grow box. This is an example of a simple grow box, you know, using the plastic containers, your lettuce, your tomatoes, your seasoning, just like your kitchen garden. Imagine being able to cut down on your kitchen garden by, let's say, 10 or 15% of what you'd spend per week. That adds up. You can take that money now and put it now away and create what we call an investment fund, so that now you will have disposable income that you now can take. We're talking about working with what you have now until you can get other things. One of the problems we make as investors or newbies is we sometimes are sold on this illusion. In fact, we sold ourselves on this illusion that when I get to this point, or when I start to make extra money or more money, then I'll do it. You're not going to do it. If you can't be faithful in small things, you're not going to do it when you have much more money. So the whole process is to create new habits. That is what success is. Success is creating new habits. It takes roughly 30 days to create a new habit in your mind. So if you start today, work with what you have, and you are going to see the effects of that. We also talk about reducing your consumer debt, higher purchases, credit card debt. All right, that is a killer. So if you're actually going to courts or many of these institutions, and no offense to courts, of course, we're just saying that you as the consumer, you may need to evaluate, do I really need this item, or you're just buying this item because you want it? You have to be able to separate that. Many of the times we convince ourselves we need things, but we don't really need it, we want it. All right, of course, a lot of flat screen TVs are actually going to be sold now because World Cup is, just 2 weeks. So the thing is, can you afford it? After the hype is gone, after the excitement is gone, can you really afford it? Of course, we have an opportunity here because of being part of a unique business, so that if you really want something, you can plan for it, and there's a business model that, we have in the One Life Network where you can actually go out there and create things that you want, right? And that's a plus. But on the average, many of us cannot afford to do just that. Now, when we're dealing with economic fluctuations, we must bear in mind that every country is unique and every government has their own monetary policies at work. Sometimes, or in many cases rather, these monetary policies do not work in your favor. And hence the reason we are dealing with so many economic risks. We talked a little bit about the definition of risk. Managing risk, what threatens your portfolio. Of course, what threatens your portfolio are extraneous factors. Those are factors that are beyond your control in terms of economic risk, your currency risk, the GDP of your country, the way in which your country is managed. You have no control over those things. Not to mention, outside of your country, you have no control over the geopolitical factors that are happening in the top nations: China, Russia, India, the United States, the European Union, Africa, etc. So it's always wise to really stay on top of real news. And that's the whole idea of One Academy, is to lay the foundation, present ideas for you, and then now you take these ideas and you work with those ideas and create your own situation of learning. Learning is very interactive. Of course, we have YouTube. That was not available 15 years ago. So it's actually easier now. You could go on YouTube. There's so many things you can actually stream now and be part of it. So while you're managing, your time, and sometimes you might want to watch TV, it's important. I'm not saying not watch TV, but at the same time, take time out of what you would normally have and start learning things, because this education that you're gaining here is for life. This is not one of those, you go to college or you go to university and you study how to pass an exam and you barely could get a job with it. That's not what that is about. In fact, if you looked at the video yesterday that I showed, one of the top university professors says that education in terms of degrees are becoming obsolete model now. In the new economy moving forward, the way in which degrees are actually churned out is not really relevant anymore. So we need to reevaluate our position. Are we looking to enhance our skills solely to get a better paying job and then somewhere down the line be obsolete because of technology? So we need to see the bigger picture. So there are basic characteristics of asset classes. We talked a lot about asset classes and the behavior of asset classes as it relates to how it can work for you. So when we're dealing with asset classes, we are talking about how can you structure a working portfolio so that you can protect yourself against risk. We talk about risk, and I'll give you what risk is. Risk is anything that is going to threaten your status or your livelihood. As it relates to investing, it can actually cause you to lose money. So the goal of every investor is to be able to manage your portfolio in such an extent so that while you cannot control exogenous factors like economic risk, systemic risk, banks, central banks, monetary policies, etc., you now can actually control your world by doing a couple of things. We talked about that: planting food, cutting down on your expenditures, consumer debt, etc. But most importantly, taking some of that extra money that you would save because you're becoming more prudent to now creating now those asset classes. Of course, generally according to the manual, of course, we can subdivide, but for all intents and purposes, This manual says that you should have land, gold, silver, and now the hottest asset class, cryptocurrency, as a portfolio management. Of course, it's very important. So while we are all working feverishly towards focusing on the one coin, there are things you can do right now. And I strongly advise you not to wait until the coin goes public to start doing it, like cutting down on your lunches and getting control of your spending habits. Because when the coin values goes up, as far as the ones are concerned, if you have not developed the discipline of saving and being a prudent investor, having extra money will serve you no good. It will actually work against you. Remember, it's not how much money you make in the long run, it's how much you keep. And if you don't have the intelligence, having a lot of coin value is going to work against you if you do not understand what is money, what is real money, what is currency. And if you keep thinking as an employee, all your hard-earned effort in one life would go down the drain. And that is the point I want to make to you this morning, right? So when you have millions of dollars in coins and you do not know how to deal with it, it is like putting dynamite in your hand. You're going to create a mess out of it, and you need to be mindful of those situations. So we talked a lot about those asset classes, the commodities, money substitutes, and we dealt a little bit about the concept of commodities. Commodities are very good in the sense that commodities handle inflation very well. The whole aspect of investing is to move beyond linear income. A linear income is having a regular job. If you're trading time for money, right, you are being paid a particular amount per day, per week, per fortnight, per month, etc. But you must take into consideration that you're being paid in paper, and all paper currencies are losing value. So what do we do? In order to move beyond that, we have to exercise the eighth wonder of the world, I have to say, in terms of what Albert Einstein said. The eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. Compound interest is interest on interest. It allows you, the investor, to take advantage of time. So the simple formula for interest is what? Principal by rate by time over 100. You probably would have studied that in basic math. Compound interest is that times 2. It is interest upon interest. And that's the only way you can truly create long-lasting wealth, by maximizing interest on interest. And that's really the power. So many of these money substitutes, the stock market, all of those things use compound interest. But of course, the flip side of compound interest is risk. We have been taught from since we were a child growing up that risk is bad. And that's the reverse or the flip side of having false information. Simply because risk is not bad. Living life is risky. Driving a car is risky. Crossing the street is risky. There are risks in every component of our lives. Every single moment of the day, there is risk, right? Something can fall in the middle of the road while you're driving. A dog could run in front of your car while you're driving. All of these things. Life is risky. What we have to learn is by having right knowledge, we can manage risk. The greater the risk, the greater the reward, right? So it's like a two-edged sword. So it's really understanding what it is that you have in your hand. So if you're using a knife in the kitchen, all right, a knife can cut you, but it can also serve as a tool, because it is. So you really need to understand that risk is your friend. And as in the stock market, we would have say that the trend is your friend until the end. But how do you ascertain what a trend is? It's having the right knowledge. So we talked about commodities and inflation. Commodities basically helps you weather the storm. And it's very important to understand how can we measure the storm, weather the storm rather, right? We talked a little bit about risk and so on. But before I go further, we need to address inflation, because every country has inflation. Why? Once you have fiat-based currencies and once you're dealing with central banks and monetary policies, you're going to get inflation. Inflation is an artificial creation of the money supply. What does inflation basically do? It robs you of the purchasing power of your dollar. So the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising and consequently falling, purchasing power or currency is falling. Let me just read that back again. It's the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and consequently, the purchasing power of currency is falling. So when inflation goes up, your purchasing power is going down. It's a seesaw effect. And once you're having paper in your wallet, meaning currency, it will always be a situation where you will be paying more for less. But if you're paying more taxes and if you can't buy what you want simply on a linear income, well, then what do? Then it's going to breed a whole level of social problems and a lot of problems that automatically rise from not having enough money. And Thomas Jefferson had said it this way, that paper is poverty. It is only the ghost of money and not money itself. Right? This is the third president of the United States saying this. And we must be mindful of that. If nothing else sinks into your brain this morning, One Academites, it is that paper is poverty. It is only the ghost of money. It's a shadow, and it is not money itself. We must be mindful of that. It's very, very important to understand the difference between what is money and what is currency. We also dealt with asset classes, and I just wanted to reiterate those asset classes. We have commodities, which are very good factors for weathering inflation, all right, because they have a good store of value. Oil is a good commodity, copper is a good commodity, corn, wheat, all of those things are commodities. Of course, they're classed differently. They have different classifications of that, and we're just going to pass through that very quickly, all right? Of course, gold and silver are the best forms of assets simply because of its durability and its ability to stand the test of time. Gold, not by my opinion, will always represent a store value. It will never not be a store value. No matter how much society changes, gold and silver and many of those commodities will never lose its value. Even if we move totally into digital currency and cryptocurrency, gold will always be the ultimate standard. It has been the ultimate standard for the last 6,000 years of recorded history. It has definitely weathered the storm and will continue and will always be a store of value, simply because of, in terms of technology, in terms of scientific, in terms of its atomic weight and structure, in terms of all of those things, which I simply don't have the time to really give you that explanation. But the long and short of it is that it has been selected simply because of a lot of scientific evidence that really has shown why this metal behaves the way it does. So it's very important to understand that. We talked about cash money equivalents, equities, meaning stocks and government bonds and so on, and to understand that the shorter term bonds will make more sense to you because you're dealing with economic risk. And most of the times governments will initiate government treasury bills and bonds and so on. And you really need to be mindful that if you are investing into government bonds, that the shorter term government bonds will make more sense. In my opinion, you should stay away from bonds personally at this point in time, simply because of the economic climate. In fact, you want to stay away. If you have not invested much in your lifetime, I would strongly advise you to not go on the stock market tomorrow morning because you'd lose all your money. It requires a degree of foresight, knowledge, and application, and you need to start small. So you need to just focus and maybe take this knowledge and put it in its rightful perspective. So we dealt with oil, commodities, and so on. Commodities have basically three types of classifications. We have the agricultural commodities. That's where you would have sugar, cocoa, coffee. You may have used some of those things already this morning prior to being on this call. We have the energy category, which deals with natural gas, gasoline, heating oil, and RBOB. RBOB is basically unleaded gas. And of course, the metals commodities, which deals with gold, copper, silver, platinum, etc. So there are subcategories for many of these asset classes. So when you look at inflation, we really would have understood clearly that inflation is really robbing you of your purchasing power. Yes, One Academites, you heard it well. And for those who are here for the first time, inflation is robbing you of your purchasing power. What is purchasing power? When you go to the supermarket and you buy things in your trolley and you realize that you're paying more for less, that is the easiest and clearest way to see the effects of inflation. And many of us, all of us, have in fact been experiencing this for a very long time. So ever since you probably have been working, you realize that you will have more month than money, right? Apart from paying your bills and doing all these things, you realize that you're just not getting value for your money anymore. And that's because you're dealing with linear income. That's because you're dealing with currency. We also took a look at what we call fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking, many people really still do not understand what fractional reserve is. Fractional reserve gives commercial banks the authority to literally print money. That's how actually they do it. So if a bank has $1,000 in its deposits and someone comes and borrows 900, all right, it's added now to the other commercial banks' ledger, and then they keep adding the value cumulatively. It's a very complex array of how the banks operate. So what is happening is that the banks can keep 10%, lend out 90, but where did the 90 came from? Where did it come from? They didn't really physically have it in their hand. They actually pulled it from other commercial banks. So what tends to happen is that they created money that physically did not exist in the money chain. And we as the consumers, we now add real value into the system because our real money, to say money in inverted commas, because that's what we think, our real currency money, is now injected into the system. So you're actually paying for their creation. It's more complex than that, but I can't really go into the full explanation. But you can just go on YouTube and you can look at 1 Minute Economics and you'll really see what I'm talking about. Very short, quick videos to help you understand that whole mechanics. That is the tool that is used to create money. Of course, banks are also subjected to policies, monetary policies, regulations and stuff from the main central bank of the country. And the main central bank is heavily influenced by politicians and government. So sometimes, and in my case, I believe most cases, the policies never really benefit the consumer. So we must recognize that economic risk is always going to be there for us. So we really need to be mindful of that. And if you're expecting your politicians to make your world a better place, well, then you're going to be in a rock and a hard place, because in my opinion, there are no politicians on this planet that can really do that for you. They may favor one particular policy, or their policies may favor your benefit in the economy. But at the end of the day, you have to take this with a pinch of salt, as my grandmother used to say, so that you now will not put any confidence in any system or politicians for that matter, which many of the population unfortunately still believe that the government is their savior. And if you believe that, you may not be in a very strong position in the next year or two. So we talked a lot about that. I would have shared videos about Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It's a new book, came out with John Perkins. I strongly advise you to get that book. New Confessions of an Economic Hitman. It talks about there are elite organizations and branches of organizations that are bent solely on corrupting nations and causing them to fail. So sometimes when you hear the media talk about corruption and whatnot, you can't believe everything you hear, because I came from the media. I spent some time in the media, and unfortunately, information is not in its purest form. And the print and the other media forms use information to their disposal to manipulate and to create a status quo. And you really have to understand that. That is just the reality of how the world operates. And if you understand that, you'll be a little more cautious when you are evaluating information. Because one of the first things people say, most people really, number one, don't even understand what research is. You talk to somebody about cryptocurrency, about the One Life Network, and here's what I'm going to research. They've never done major research in their lives. So their idea of search engines is Google. Google, in case you didn't know, doesn't evaluate information. It just actually stores it on its server and allows you to really go and check it out. So when you're doing research, you really need to check out many different forms of research, meaning different sites. So most people's idea of researching is, well, I'll Google it, like it's a household name. Of course, and Google has become a household name. Google, they wouldn't say I Yahoo it, I'll actually Google it. So you need to be mindful that when you are extrapolating information on Google, that you need to know what you're looking for. If you said that the cow jumped over the moon and you actually Googled it, you might find some idiot who might probably post something and say to you that the cow did actually jump over the moon, or there's some information. So you got to be careful when you are Googling or so-called researching, because many people, in my opinion, 98% of people do not know what the word research really is. And that's why you're here on these calls, to really understand, how do I gather information? How do I evaluate information? And I think that's really important for us to understand. So the banking system really is the heart. It is the heartbeat of an economy. It is where the money is created. And money is about power and control. Money is not about helping you and me. As far as governments are concerned, it is about their own political agenda. And let me just stick a pin into this. This part of it is my own opinion. All right. And based on my personal research, I have come up with that particular opinion. So it is not generally the opinion of One Academy, but I must say it for me that, in my opinion, I'm not going to believe any politician or any government, because at the end of the day, they have already made a mess out of things. So we need to be more responsible as One Academites. To know and not to do is not to know. That is the bottom line. So it's already 6:32 where I am. And boy, time really flies when you're having fun. So there's a lot of information here in the banking system. Level 1 really encapsulates generally all the information that you generally need to know. Of course, level 1, level 2 takes it a whole different level. But level 1, everyone that you come in contact with should know this information. This is class 101. No one should go through their entire life not knowing this information. This is tantamount to insanity. Really, One Academites, you need to know this information. And I'm not telling you that it is required reading. It is required reading. You have to learn it. If you want to survive in a new world economy, you better pick up this manual and really make a concerted effort to learn it. And that's why we're making this special effort through these One Academy discussions to help flavor it in a different way so that you can at least grasp some of this information. That's why, in my humblest opinion, these calls are so underpopulated in the morning. People don't understand the severity of the situation until something happens in their life. Then they realize that, I should have done this, I should have done better. So at the end of the day, you need to make a more concerted effort and tell people about it. What they choose to do with their time, everybody's adults, they need to know what to do with their time. But you have planted a good seed this morning. And I want to thank you and give yourself a round of applause as it relates to what you are doing for yourself, your family, and by extension, the people that you care about the most. Because there is going to be a reckoning. Trust me when I say this. I know this call is being recorded, so I am actually being recorded on file and saying this. There is going to be a financial storm so huge that is going to transfer a huge amount of wealth in the hands of ordinary, everyday citizens. And that's the game changer. That's the major disruption that is taking place in the world today. And it's happening so subtly, it's happening so invisibly, that many people are, in fact, going to be caught unawares. In fact, more than 80% of the population is going to be caught unawares. And that's the sad truth. Unfortunately, it is what it is. So we have a responsibility. It is your duty to go out there and share this information and empower people as much as possible. Because there is going to come a time when this information, you will be happy that you deprived yourself of maybe an hour or two sleep in the morning time to gain this knowledge so importantly. So I'm going to wrap up here. Basically, let me just take a look at the comments. All right, there's no comments yet. But of course, I'm going to hand over this call now to Maureen. We could take a couple of calls. We're not going to take much calls this morning because tomorrow we're going to give you the opportunity to really speak and say what's on your mind. I think, Maureen, what you can do basically is maybe I haven't checked the list of attendees, but of course, Definitely, Patrice, we really want your input as we wrap up level 1, and of course, give maybe 1 or 2 other persons to wrap up. We wanna come off the call in about 5 minutes time, so that tomorrow we give you the full opportunity to do that. So have yourself a great day, guys. It was always a pleasure being here in terms of going through your level 1. We're going to be going through some interesting things. We are considering, in fact, I will be starting the Super TED. In fact, Maureen and myself, we were discussing the importance of getting into Super TED because many people need to start there. So we're definitely going to be doing something really interesting next week as we continue our plans with One Academy. So have yourself a great day, everyone. Maureen, it's back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pereira. I just want to say morning to a few people, some new people I've seen on the line, as well as some of our diamonds. Ivan and Michelle, good morning to you. We have our King James here, who he will be speaking, so I will give away to him. I want to say good morning to Joel Osborne. I don't remember seeing you on the line before. Alexander, OneCoin, our media. Morning to you as well. Lenovo user, I know you're not part of One Academy yet, part of the network, but you're planning, so I'm glad to see you on the calls quite a few mornings now. I want to acknowledge you as well. I also see Vincent, you're back with us. Vincent Hackmat, pleasure to have you on the call. There's a Ray Williams as well. I don't remember seeing you before, and I want to say a special good morning to those of you who I think I haven't seen on the call before. So without any further ado, now I will unmute King James so he can have the final say. We won't be taking any calls this morning, any special contributions, unless King James give away to someone to do that. Tomorrow is our day to shine in. So without any further ado, King James, over to you. You are unmuted.
Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, Miss Marine, and everyone on the One Academy call this morning. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I'm calling from, let me give you guys a little quick look at what's going on around us. This is Happy Bar and Grill in Ruse, Bulgaria. As you guys know, it's almost 7 in the morning here. So what I want to do, however, is to share with you guys an amazing opportunity. We were just discussing education, so it's fitting. But this time we were discussing education on the Deal Shaker. Vincent, what's up, man? I see you on the call, man. I see a lot of people. Wifey, what's up, morning, baby? So, guys, here who I'm with. I'm with the living legend. You know, most people are legends after they're dead, but this is a living legend, Mr. Curliff.
Hello guys, you kill me. I'm not a legend, I'm just like you. So educate yourself, and next what is coming in October, you'll be very thankful of your leaders. So stay in touch with them and educate. This is the first step from your financial freedom. Thank you about that.
Guys, we are putting things in place so you can be riding spinners. You know how it goes, man. Looking at Benz, BMW, I mean, everything possible, man. But here's the amazing part. If you don't build your business, you have no coins to buy any vehicle. Aha! So, build your business. So, what we are doing on a morning basis, guys, with you guys learning and receiving the information, is imperative for us to share so you could get to that next level. You do not want to be caught with your pants down. You don't want to be explaining to your children why you don't have certain luxuries that life would have provided you because you have the information early. So now, in all humility, do what is necessary. With that being said, I see Mr. Kimro, Ali, and Kester. Hi.
This weekend is just getting more and more amazing because we are here, we are living himself, and we are working on some good deals for you all people. So all who are interested in your research will be coming to you very soon. For what Mr. Ali here, what is your
vision and governmental foresight? It just went up. So our country needs really government. Right now,
I'm going to let Mr. Ali just chime in a little bit.
Hey folks, as you see, we are really partnering with the right people and putting things in place for our event that's coming up. So just stay tuned. We're going to have some fantastic things
on the horizon. And listen, guys, I mean, the people we've met and the vision of Dr. Roshan and those things are just coming together. We're just seeing everything coming together and working as one unit. You don't know what is really happening in the background, but I want each and every one of you to really believe in the vision and continue to educate yourself and try to get as many coins as possible. God bless you all. God bless you all.
Okay, so King is closing off a big deal here, so I think I'll turn it back on to you, Larry, or whoever is in control of this meeting right now. You can take it back, and people be coming back with some excited news. So let's get ready to push. Thank you again, Larry, or whoever is in control of the meeting.
Doesn't matter what you are buying, where you're buying. You want unique experience, not American dollars, not euro, not the pound, not it's okay. You want to go public, you can buy some.
Okay.
Okay, Maureen, I'm not hearing you at all.
I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out what's really, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if he was finished, if King James was coming back on or not. I was a bit confused. It's now 6:42. So you said you wanted to finish in 5 minutes. So I'll just let the call end with Patrice James. And tomorrow, Patrice, could you explain a little bit? Because we have people on the line who do not understand what would have been happening just now. Actually, that person that I was talking about, they're now off the line. So, oh, I see somebody else on the line that I've never seen before. Sophia Matt, LG Spirit. So Patrice, could you just end the call nicely, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. You could hear me, Maureen?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Good morning to everyone who's on the call this morning. What happened just now, they are sitting with this guy by the name of Kralev. He would have been on our mentorship call, which happens every Sunday evening, different times. The times normally change. You just have to look out for the flyer in the groups. And most times, 1 week we would have how has been happening for the past few weeks, Mr. Gordon Stennis and King James interviewing international guests, and Mr. Kralev is the deal shaker merchant who is responsible for having the Audis and the BMWs and the Benz and many different vehicles on the deal shaker. So they're actually having discussions with him. I don't know where it's leading, but they're having discussions with him concerning our local expo, which is happening on July 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So let's just put things in place to get there. It's at the Hilton Trinidad Conference Center. On the 20th, it would be the gala, the One World Foundation gala. On the 21st, it's the actual expo, which is free and open to the public. And the 22nd would be a masterclass for all IMAs. It will be intensive training. We actually heard from one of the speakers. She was on the mentorship call last week, Sena Malika. She was actually on our One Academy call a couple times too. So we really putting things in place to all roads lead to July 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Get information from the person who invited you into the business, and look out for more information in the chats. And that's basically what's happening. So in terms of specifics, I'm not sure, but we just know that things are being put in place. We just have to do what we are responsible for.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrice. Okay, I'll let Ivan and Michelle say something because they were on the call for a couple of days now and they haven't said anything. I would like them to say something, or Diamonds as well. Am I upline? Ivan and Michelle, are you able to say something at this time? I'm not trying to unmute your mic, but it's not working. Could you unmute yourselves and say something, please? Okay, they don't seem to be close to their... Yeah, they don't seem to be very close to their mic. So Without any further ado, I want to thank each and every one of you for being on the call, for being here for the last 2.5 weeks, going through level 1 again in a different format. Thank you for your patience. We love you. We're glad to be a part of the community. For those of you who are not part yet, we invite you to join us. We are on a mission to becoming wise and knowledgeable investors. Have a wonderful, beautiful, productive One Life Day. Larry, take us out with the...
The One Academy is the heart of our company. Cryptocurrency is not an easy product. It's a very innovative product based on technology and based on very, very complex concepts. For us to be part of this financial revolution, to be part of cryptocurrency and of a community, we need to understand exactly what we do and what we talk about. And this is why we have the One Academy. The One Academy provides you with concepts, provides you with explanation on cryptocurrency and on the financial world. I would encourage everybody to join the courses, to do the certificates, and to understand thoroughly how to use cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, and how we can change the world by using cryptocurrency. One Academy. Learn today, lead tomorrow.